welcome to the 10th session, bringing the outcomes and the research of our COP simulation delegates to the global stage here in the COP in Brazil. So I'd like to welcome our distinguished panelists, Dr. Olga Derendeva, the postdoctoral researcher at Tanya Sen University and member at Yongo Human Rights and Finance Working Group. I'd like also to welcome Ms. Elena Alexandra Miron, researcher at Energy Policy Group and the Romanian Youth Delegate. In order to commence our session, I have the honor to leave the floor to Dr. Sarah Fishan, the Director of the Strategy Development and the COP Simulation at the British University of Egypt, for her introductory remarks.
Thank you, Rita. Good afternoon, everyone. Here is to our 10th session at the COP. We finished 9. This is the 10th one to go. We're very exhausted. However, the vibes are amazing and the outcomes are great. And it's something to celebrate. And since we have here Elena and Olga and the youth surrounding the place, I would just like to give some insights and information about what is the COP simulation program based on your request. So this is a program it's an initiative that we have started actually along with Egypt's host of the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. So we made our first edition of the COP simulation program, which is a mini COP that we organized to simulate the real COP. We invite youth from around the world to come and join us in this activity. And it has been, since then, it has been growing in terms of impact size, outreach, deliverables, solutions, engagement, partners, and the presence of the COP. So this year is the 4th edition. We have 150 youth from 47 countries, 91 universities around the world. They received an intense capacity building program, and then they joined in Cairo for 1 week, just like a week at the COP. We had a week at Cairo. They went into negotiation rooms, setting agendas, negotiating as countries. They took the roles of countries and they negotiated the COP. Topics and themes aligned with the real COP, and they voted and they developed the COP simulation declaration. It's a voting statement. We have no hands in it. It's totally driven by the youth. And then we are taking this declaration. We took it here to the COP to be presented thematically in those 11 sessions. This one is about technology related themes. So this is in a nutshell what is the COP is all about. We invite all youth, we invite organizations. We have here our friends from RAID, where we had a session organized yesterday. So we are very active in our collaboration and partnership with partners, with civil society, and with youth on ground at the COP, and we invite you to stay in our space and our community for the next edition of COP. So this is just a brief, and now I think we can give the floor to our students to present their proposals on the theme of today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rajain. I'm a political science student at the University of Egypt. And our presentation for today is titled Technology Without Borders, AI and Global Governance or Climate Innovation. So first we go through the agenda. I was supposed to introduce what is the COP simulation, but Dr. Sarah just talked. And then we will talk about the problem, the twin transition, and then from data to governance, and then the three main domains under our presentation. And then we will present the solution and the software participation. So, climate tech landscape today is very unequal. On one hand, AI-driven forecasting and climate modeling are advancing at an incredible rate. On the other hand, a large part of the world has no access to computing infrastructure infrastructure or governance frameworks that benefit these breakthroughs. This creates a serious risk. Instead of leveling the playing field, climate technology could inadvertently reinforce these inequalities further. So, while researching, we find some key challenges. The first one is fragmented climate data and limited interoperability. Approximately 2.7 billion people offline globally, limiting access to and contribution of local climate data. AI and digital infrastructure are concentrated in the global north. Africa has approximately 1% of global data center capacity, while the West countries dominate AI deployment, and this is according to OECD. Technology transfer barriers and lack of open standards. Many countries cannot adopt or adapt AI tools due to governance gaps and few open standards. So, the twin transition. We are at the intersection of two structural shifts, digitalisation and decarbonisation. Integrated, they drive systematic transformation with AI and add a cross-sector accelerator. But without open and equitable framework, this transition risks further reinforcing existing power asymmetry. The challenge here isn't inventing technology because technology is there. The problem is actually governing them. We need systems that transform technical breakthroughs to development intelligence. AI from hardware and digital ecosystems can be architected preserving equity and agency. So there are three ways to make this work. The first one is AI-driven climate modeling, which can help provide actionable insights. It helps predict climate impacts, optimize energy systems, as well as guide emission reduction strategies. Only if the insights reach policymakers and communities. The second point is open source and distribution hardware. So open source and distribution hardware can build local community. Countries and communities can adopt, maintain, and adapt these technologies themselves, reducing dependence on outsider providers or like the global. The last point is digital ecosystems, enabling participatory governance. So scientists and local communities to share data, co-design solutions, and ensure decisions are inclusive and equitable. So, in short, technology alone isn't enough. Its potential is unlocked only when it's embedded within governance systems that prioritize equity, local agency, and actionable intelligence. And now I'll be leaving to my colleague.
Traditional machine learning often fails in low data environments. Physics informed and hybrid AI integrate physical laws into neural networks, improving model stability and interpretability. Critical regions without dense sensory grids. This redefines climate forecasting accuracy for the global south. AI governance is not just about ethics, it's about architecture. We need adaptive data licensing, transparent model registries, and indigenous data sovereignty protocols embedded into the UNFCCC reporting framework. Open source hardware from microgrid to training kits decouples technology access for proprietary control. For renewable systems, modular open source design enables nations to build, maintain, and teach energy systems domestically. We propose a national digital climate hub as a modular standard-based digital infrastructure designed to unify data, models, and innovative pipelines. The architecture includes 4 interconnecting layers. The first being data ingestion and cataloging. Open data registries based on OPAL, a global initiative that lets institutions share insights from sensitive data without exposing the raw data out to the public. In the climate context, local systems registry let countries run algorithms locally on their own data sets, protecting sovereignty while contributing to shared learning. The second being a model registry. A model registry will be a repository containing model cards and metadata to ensure transparency, reproducibility, and peer validation. The third step would be edge and cloud training infrastructure, which will support for federated learning and low content model distillation, allowing regions with limited resources to participate in collective AI training without transferring raw data. And finally is the Innovative Accelerator, which is a bridge connecting research and development, institutions, technical and vocational education systems, and small and medium-sized enterprises to enable real-world development. By codifying model data sets, such as weights, training, and hyperparameters, exposing standardized application programs to UNFC data nodes, NDHCs would enable cross-border model portability, auditability, and interoperability. The entire system adheres to digital public good principles, prioritizing open source code, transparent model documentation, and non-restrictive licenses to ensure that lower resource countries can adopt, localize, and build upon these tools without dependency on a proprietary platform.
Thank you. So now that we've discussed the issue and kind of the domain we wanted to address, we are going to talk about embedding this into policy. So we argue that ACE must explicitly include digital capacity building, not only awareness campaigns, but accredited AI and open hardware curricula that are aligned with NDC targets. Practically, AI-driven skill mapping tools and NDC implementation can project the required green applications by time frame. And those curricula would be the local open hardware energy labs, the OHELs that we are suggesting, for hands-on certification. And then release closes when lab MRV, monitoring, reporting, and verification feedback into NDC report, which would create evidence that ACE investments are translated into renewable So the governance models that we are suggesting are both national models and then expanding that into the international governance model. So governance must be distributed and also cooperative, especially in the area of AI. So technically, NDC APIS should include governance, role-based access control for community data, audit trials, and participatory model review panels, which include indigenous and youth participation and representation, which is very, very important. At the national level, an AI ethics board must be there for transparency. So things like open data, test data, and incentives are required to be there, just for the sake of transparency. Financing wise, we're suggesting blended finance instruments and innovation funds. And there are already a few that are starting to do this, like the EU Innovation Fund and climate investor models, which can de-risk pilot deployments and capitalize on distributed manufacturing merits. So the outcomes of our proposal must be measurable, and we're proposing a few KPIs. So the first, transparency. So we're suggesting that for transparency, we need to publish model cards and data sets for 90% of the deployed NDPH models. The second thing is capacity, and we are suggesting that for each regional hub, they should certify 1,000 technicians per year via the OHEL aligned labs that we suggested earlier. And third, the finance. So we are suggesting to create blended finance vehicles to cover yearly capital and attract private investment. And we're aiming for 30 pilot projects in 3 years. The fourth thing is governance, and we're proposing to implement a machine-readable MRV plan for all pilot credits so that all the registries can work together. And again, this is to enhance transparency around the book. And then these targets are ambitious, very, very ambitious. So that is intentionally so. And we think that they are achievable. And the World Bank, the IFC, and regional development banks have already started investing in digital infrastructure and blended finance mechanisms that can be repurposed for climate scaling, climate tech scaling of these projects. And I think since they've already started, we should just continue to push and push and push that. So I want to bring it full circle. What we're talking about here is technology without borders. And we believe, as they use that technology without borders just means governance without exclusion. We are voting for transparency. We're pushing for equitable access. We're pushing for fair and ethical governance. And as we want to be ambitious. We want to be pushing and voting for things that we know that maybe we can't achieve this year, but we can achieve in the future if we just, push, stay with the momentum.
Thank you very much for our simulation delegates for this interesting presentation. Now we have the honor to listen to the insights of Dr. Olga Zerendeva.
I'm a postdoctoral researcher at Stanford University in China, and today I will discuss with you the results of my research about AI driving simulation scenarios for the Russian Arctic and also about the governance reports. I will discuss the differences and the governance gaps which I discovered during my studies. First of all, I would like to say that the Russian Arctic is a very complex and difficult region from the point of view of the governance because it's often quite iterative. Governance is top-down, and these approaches they often hidden some gaps in the governance, which is very difficult to discover with some typical and some traditional way of studies. That's why we try to use AI scenarios to identify these gaps. In my studies, I use mainly three approaches. The first one was a cascading risk paradigm. The second one was CPCIR framework, and the third one was adaptive governance theory. I use three most representative case studies. The first one is Kamchatka earthquake, which happened just in 2025. The second one is wildfires in Yakutia region, which happen normally every year in the Russian Arctic. And the third one was in 2021. It was a Nobles oil spill, which created a very big pollution in the Norilsk region. I created, for each of these case scenarios, I created AI prompts, and we get AI results. Also, we have the governance reports for each of these studies, and as a result, we can compare these two different paradigms. The results are very interesting. First of all, from the quantitative point of view, I often underestimated the results. For example, it says that wildfires would affect 92% more area than it actually did, and the same about the oil spills. However, we think that these results might happen due to the unavailability of data for Russian Arctic and for more training which needed for some specific AI models. What about qualitative results? I found out that AI scenarios are often showing some hidden cascading risks, which often are not appeared in official reports, which could also happen due to the way how government actually writing this report. But more likely, it's because some of these probably not very direct results, quite often absent from the government's policies. We think that based on our studies, there are three main most important solutions which would improve governance. First of all, we need to adapt AI methodology into the methodology of Russian governance in reform. The second, we need to use digital AI framework for writing Russian reports. And the third one, we create a kind of interactive dashboards for representing the results of AI scenarios with local people. Also, we acknowledge that there were some biases and also the lack of the data, which often affect AI scenarios, and we need to address this issue in the next studies. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olga, for the very interesting presentation and for your insight. Now we have the honor to listen to the insight of Selena Alexandra.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here and to hear your ideas that you put on the paper. And not only you just described them slightly, you just came up with something very interesting in terms of governance. So when we are talking, my name is Elena Alexandra Miron. First of all, I am a delegate, a climate delegate for the Romanian delegation. And then also I'm a researcher as well. Doing research in energy efficiency, but not only that, energy security, as Romania is a very strategic geographic region for Europe. And not only that, trying to include young people and young researchers and everything that comes with data, science, and modeling in my country. So that's why I'm working. I have a few hats. I'm working with the National Administration of Meteorology in Romania to bring more young people and young brains around the climate modeling and science data. And that is very important because young people are used today. Young people come up with some solutions that are like working within the governments, but not really just standard things. You talk about almost everything, but I want to touch upon one thing that I think you need to focus on in this, because this could be really important for a lot of countries to take this on in a way or another. You could really present it like further. I really like it, and it's in development. What I want to say is that the capacity, we are talking a lot. I'm doing data modeling in Romania in my research. We are looking at, 1 year from now, what are the predictions, right? You cannot really predict the future anymore. So you have to have some algorithms, some data. That's how we are using AI efficiently. I mean, we don't want to just use it and use its resources, I mean, energy and water resources for nothing. We want to create that kind of AI systems that are not, I mean, they are polluting, of course, but they are not polluting as much, and they're used for something better. We cannot talk about AI disappearing, or we don't want AI. Technology is here, and we have to make sure that we are using it correctly and efficiently. This is the reality, and we cannot really say anything as such. But what we are doing is to predict scenarios, so to predict the future. And then how do we predict the future? One thing that is missing, or maybe you're not yet looking into that, is the capacity of people doing this. AI is a very new technology. We have to make sure that we all understand, we have a common understanding on AI and how it works. I mean, it should be governed. It should have some legislation, like a very tough legislation nationally, of course, nationally adapted, regionally adapted. In Europe, we are working on that. But it should be really at, for example, at my research institute level, it should be governed, because people don't have the capacity, maybe yet, or they don't have courses in high school or have universities to understand what's the power of AI and how it can be used to predict the future.
So this is one thing that I think it's very important. Skills, capacity, competencies. I think young people are very well prepared in this time and place, but they have to understand how to use whatever we have as tools. And then in the second insight or something that I want to leave you with today, and it's such a, I mean, I'm very honored again. It's such a great conversation between many people that are doing things, and then some other people from the world not giving feedback, but just creating a condition. I wanted to say that as a young researcher myself, I am trying to promote the use of AI in a good way, as I said, but not only that, promote critical thinking as well. I think we are losing it. I mean, we're kind of losing it a bit. So it's very important. I mean, using AI, governing it great, but it has to have some of our creativity and touch, and human touch, of course, everything that we are doing. So modeling, I mean, in 5 minutes, I can have the prediction for 10 years from now in terms of energy in Romania, in terms of renewable energy. I can have everything because I have the data already. But what I mean, I don't need the predictions really because maybe AI is wrong. So I need to like look into it and actually conditioned by everything that's happening around me, yeah, in terms of policy, European directives, global Paris agreements, negotiations. How is this scenario that AI made for me? It's gonna work with my critical thinking of like knowing everything around. So it's like a use of human, but having AI use efficiently. So this is kind of a message from me. And yeah, I hope this discussion can go further, not only here, but like, thank
Thank you very much, Ms. Elena. Now I have the honor to welcome to leave the floor to Mr. Anthony Ruby Costa de Crema, who is a law student at TFTA and the founder of Park IA.
So thank you people to being here. That's the most interesting panel I have seen across. So my name is Anthony Ruby Costa de Crema. I live here in Belém do Pará. I'm 89 years old and I study law. So I would like to begin talking about violence that are the most affected by the climate change neighborhoods here in Belém. Sorry for the bad English, so I would like to be reading. So I have the platform, the name is Jerky. I was born and raised in the peripheral neighborhoods of Belém, first in Jurunas, that's near Pop, and after that in Coraci, like where the boats on the university there. So here in Amazon, we are deeply affected by climate change. Food, constant food and food silence, and extreme heat, wind disease, material loss, psychological impact, and reduce our overall quality of life. We will survive and we fight. As an Amazonian youth, I decided to do my part to change this reality and empower my community. That is how RPA was created. It's a remote sensing platform when we like a dashboard when you can install satellite imagery from ESA and NASA and JAXA. So we use the satellite imagery and artificial intelligence to bring insights and help how the climate change are affecting the people. That our readers' objective is to unite the people that likes the data and the data itself. So on the platform, you can see socioeconomical data from the Brazilian Geographic Institute, and you can see urban heat islands, vegetation, emission of gases like the pollution gases. You can see also the geospatial data, so it's 3D. And our platform now is we are the regional winners of NASA SpaceX Challenge. So we are going to the final. Really want to win the competition and bring that on our organization. So our platform integrates socioeconomic data from the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics, metadata from Microsoft Planetary Computing, and Artia is now moving toward becoming an organization dedicated to empowering communities through STEAM, science, technology, innovation, law, and data. It's an organization created and driven by young people from peripheral neighborhoods, favelas, and low-lying areas around the world to monitor social, environmental, and climate risks globally. Artificial intelligence represents an extraordinary academic and technological frontier which allows us to analyze complex data sets, reveal visible patterns, and support negligent, evidence-based decision-making for young people. AI opens new pathways to learning, leadership, and civic engagement, enabling us to build tools that respond to the realities of our territory. I also would like to thank the other participants for this remarkable panel. The insights shared here highlight the power of collective action and the importance of youth leadership in shaping a more just and sustainable future. So I will be ending, and if you're interested on the organization, in the end, we must be looking on the platform that will be so cool. So pass it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony, for your insight. Now I will give the floor to Dr. Sora for the closing remarks.
Thank you, your panelists. Well, this is a very young panel and diverse views on how we perceive the problem and how we act to it from the context. But let me put here 2 points. The first is why we are talking about scenario building and climate disaster prediction, and here we have to mention the importance of somehow what you were mentioning only about I would say the importance of early warning systems, embedding early warning systems based on data and deploying AI and data and resources for that. However, remains the central question, which I also offer here for our COP simulation students and for everyone in this time. How are we going to convince the people who have the money to put the resources in building these early warning systems in countries that need them the most? This remains the central question. And this remains to be your homework, perhaps after this talk, and for the next talk, and for your future research. A country that is not really involved in a climate disaster has been involved in creating the climate problem since what? Long ago, no longer interested. They have the money. They need to be convinced somewhere, somehow, that this problem, if it remains without solution, they as well will be hit by the problem. If some of you have seen the movie Don't Look Up, okay, so this is the case. This is a dystopian view of what can happen as a result of something like the climate problem. Everyone is ignoring. Everyone is just denying that this is related to them, but it will suddenly hit everyone. So we have to perceive it this way. So this is the first point. The second point is related to that AI and technology is not just for prediction, it's also for reporting. And we have seen a lot of ambitious initiatives that are not yet delivering because of the lack of the operational framework to report, to put the data properly. I would mention just two initiatives here: the Loss and Damage Trust Fund, the Loss and Damage Fund, and the Triple F, the TFFF that was just launched. The Loss and Damage has been launched, and of course, previous to this was the 100 billion pledge and the 1.3 trillion. All these are ambitious initiatives announced, celebrated at COPs. However, from one COP to another, we don't see the needed progress and achievement. Why? Because we lack the systems to track, we lack the technology that classifies, for example, what is proper climate finance, what is the real funds that have been already deployed to the loss and damage in carbon markets. A huge gap in achieving or progressing with carbon markets is the double accounting, because we lack the systems, we lack how to put the data properly and properly. So the problem is the deploying AI and technology is not just for predicting and the future future, it's also for reporting on what is being achieved to define, and this is a real gap. This is, I would like to raise this concern about the T-F as another ambitious initiative that it was not paired with proper data systems, proper AI and technology to operate it, it will end up not delivering just as the previous ones. So this is the second point. And finally, the third point about being predictive thinking, I always tell the students in the top simulation to be AI deployer and not AI dependent, and to still maintain their minds, to master the AI and not make the AI lead them. Thank you so much. I would like to open the floor. If any remarks or participation from the floor, please raise your hands. Any remarks? Yes, please. Thank you so much for this very interesting session. Intervention. Actually, coming from, let me just introduce myself. My name is Ada Nadim. I'm representing RAID. I'm the program manager of RAID. RAID is the Arab Network for Environment and Development. It's a network of civil society organizations from the Arab region. So I'm talking on behalf of the civil society, which is part of the governance that we would like to have. Actually, being working on the ground with the communities and with the civil society, I see we're still very far away from what we're saying, what we would like to see with the AI. Actually, what I would like to focus on, we're saying, okay, the data all the time, but I would like to stress on the local data. Where are we taking the data? We should focus on the local data coming from the communities themselves, because they are the ones who are really suffering, vulnerable communities and hotspots, and we are really we shouldn't say that they do not know their risks or needs and so on. No, of course we should work with them. We should develop their capacities, and then we can get all the data that we need, and then we can build with the AI on this data. So local data is always ignored, unfortunately. I would like to give you one example that we have done RAID with in cooperation with the GNDR, the Global Network for Disaster Reduction. It's a program called Views from the Frontline. It started in 2009, and it went through phases in 2022. Actually, this whole program was building on the local data. But we started the program by building the capacity of communities and having this risk assessment studies in the targeted communities, and then how to get the participatory data approach from those communities. And from those communities, we collected the data from elder people, from youth, from women, from children, from people with disabilities. So no one was left behind. And then building on this data, they put an action plan. And then at the end, in the final phase of the program, which was in 50 countries actually, building on this data, they started to mobilize the local resources to implement one of the initiatives according to the action plan. So this is what we see. What Dr. Sarah has mentioned about the funding and the funds that we always hear about in the crop, and how the funds, the money are inside the funds. What we are talking about, how to get the money out of those funds, the mechanisms to ensure that the money is going to the right communities through the right mechanism. It is so complicated. It is really so complicated for the governments. So how is it going to the right communities? So this is what we're concerned about. We're hearing about so many funds, but
are these money going to the right people? We still need to do that. Of course, AI can play a very important role. Actually, we have started doing this in the media, for example. To give you also another example that we have done recently, during one of our capacity building training to the media representatives, and how they are going to increase the visibility of the projects done by the civil society organizations in the field of climate change. We gave them special sessions on AI, on how to link AI with the civil society organizations with the media. So and it was very successful. But what finally to end my intervention, I would like to see also the link between the civil society organizations and the communities and academia, because you know the know-how, you know the models, the modeling, and whatever, but we need to link this also to the communities as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this really wonderful panel. My name is Hina Nepram. I'm from an indigenous group in northeast of India, bordering Burma. I'm the founder president of the Global Alliance of Indigenous People, Gender Justice and Peace. And I'm also associated with Harvard University of Academy. So first of all, I wanted to ask this question: is artificial intelligence really intelligent? Number one. Number two, Sarah, I think you mentioned that we should use our human judgment. Was about human intelligence combined. Absolutely. We are living in a world where we cannot do without AI. We are all aware. Indigenous people, we work in 7 socio-cultural regions of the world, and we know, and we are taking up steps to ensure that this is also, that Indigenous peoples are not left behind. Therefore, we are here, and I hope you win that competition. But even if you don't, you have reached there. And you're going to go and keep going. So, congratulations. I am amazed. Here in Belém, where there are 200 in the Amazons, 200 indigenous communities. So, I wanted to know, in this AI that we will need, and indigenous people manage 80% of global biodiversity. 80%. So, without ensuring their inclusions, I wanted to know if in your tech and the work you're doing, do you hold them center in the work that you're doing? Because if you don't, then we are not able to be complete number one. And my final point is this: that this whole thing of artificial intelligence, AI, is driving. We need the database to be, and it's coming from the world's transition minerals, critical minerals, and they're found in indigenous territories. And it's going to hurt us more. But we are telling you, don't hurt us more. Indigenous people also want development, but done in a way that not 1% gets everything. But as Gandhi said, enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. So I wanted you all who are working in this field to remember this. And we have formed the Global Alliance of Indigenous People, peace builders, mediators, and negotiators, to talk to companies, countries, organizations, to be able to walk together, that we are not against each other, walk together. So thank you to everyone for your work.
I don't want to see organization of myself, my name is Amadati. I'm just talking now for my young generation here. We can see both us, including the young people and the young people, always looking at AI as something but we will get that it is called artificial. It is artificial. It is not deep enough to be the knowledge and to be the intelligence of the person. And this I think the whole idea depends on how you are going to use it. If you are using it as a tool, one of the tools, but it is not everything. It is something that you bring in the classroom, just to look at the library, and stay hours and hours and hours to collect. And I remember the first newsletter we printed in our organization 45 years ago. We have to spend maybe like 3 days collecting pieces of papers and photocopying data, cutting it and pasting it. Now I can do it in 5 minutes or maybe in 2 minutes or no time at all. So the whole idea here is how we are going to deploy this intelligence to help us. It can get me information, but it will not give me facts. I have to get the facts. You have to go and search. This one. As I said, I want to build on it and also ask the British University in Egypt. You see long time ago, and I hope this is going on as well in the we used to have community activities. And I remember when I was in high school, I used to go to community and sit with farmers and do some surveys. I need to see this also happening among the universities. The community practices, where the students can stay maybe, let's say, 20 days, 30 days per year, working with the community, sitting down with villagers, sitting down with fishermen, sitting down with indigenous people. So this is the way you are going to know where can you get the facts and the information. And this is something that I believe will be a tool again for universities, for the academia, because yes, the research is very important, but the research will never be really valuable unless it is on the ground. You go there, it's not only on the desk, it's not only in the lab, it is outside, in the field. You see it, you feel it. And then when you put a figure in this case, you know what the meaning of this figure. When you say that 85% of people are autistic, you have seen it. You have seen it yourself. That yes, the number is very close to the reality. So this is my goal for my young colleagues here, brothers and sisters, or sisters and brothers and sisters. Here are more than brothers. Gender is fantastic here. I came to make the gender equality. Thank you.
Hi for everyone. I'm Raymond from Mexico, and I just want to say a short reflection on these issues. I think in this actual world, we don't need more artificial things. We need more human things like this connection. We need to see you to your eyes. We need to feel your heart. We need love. We don't need more artificial things. I think this is the most important thing we need right now. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the insightful interventions, and I think this is a topic that will remain and will stay with us for the next rounds of our work. For us, perhaps we take more attention next year, and also for our students who are taking forward with these with their research under this topic. Thank you so much for attending our session. I would like just to invite you to take this group photo together. Thank you.